Hello Year 11 and welcome back to the second part of our lesson focusing on keeping your skin safe, alright? I'm going to carry on from where we left off in the previous video. We were about to look at sunbeds and this, how safe they are. So I'll start from the top. Sunbeds, are they safe? So the thing we need to know is that sunbeds give out what we call ultraviolet UV rays that increase your risk of developing skin cancer, such as malignant melanoma and non-melanoma. Okay, I'll go into more detail about what melanoma is a little bit later on. Many sunbeds give out greater doses of UV rays in the midday tropical sun, okay, so it's a really concentrated high amount of UV rays that are being sent out by these machines. And the risks are much greater for young people. When you're younger, your body's still kind of growing and things like that. And if you cause danger to your skin and cells and things, then it's more likely to cause an issue in later life. Because evidence shows that people who are frequently exposed to UV rays before the age of 25 are at greater risk of developing skin cancer in later life. And sunburn in childhood can greatly increase the risk of developing skin cancer later in life. Okay, so again, essentially, if you've damaged the skin as a child, it's more likely to potentially cause a problem later in life. When it does come to sunbeds, though, we do need to know the law. Okay, it is illegal for people under the age of 18 to use sunbeds. The Sunbeds Regulation Act of 2010 makes it an offence for someone operating a sunbed business to permit under 18s to use a sunbed at the business premises, including beauty salons, leisure centres, gyms and hotels, be offered the use of a sunbed at the business premises, and be allowed in an area reserved for sunbed users unless they're working as an employee. All right, so essentially, until you turn 18, you're not supposed to, by law, you're not allowed to use a sunbed. But why are they so harmful, these sunbeds? So sunbeds, sunlamps and tanning booths give out the same type of harmful radiation as sunlight. All right, UVA rays make up about 95% of sunlight. That stuff that can really cause damage to your skin. They can cause your skin to age prematurely, making it look coarse, leathery and wrinkled. UVB rays make up about 5% of sunlight and burn your skin, okay? A tan is your body's attempt to protect itself from the damaging effect of the UV rays. That is why our skin changes colour with the tan. All right, so it's trying to sort of fight against it. But using a sunbed to get tan is not safer than tanning in the sun. Absolutely not, because of the amount of radiation that is pumped out of them. It might even be more harmful to use sunbeds, so depending on factors such as the strength of UV rays from the sunbed, how often you use a sunbed, the length of your sunbed sessions, your skin type, for example, whether you have fair or dark skin, and your age. Okay, all of these things can come into effect. And what damage can they cause, these sunbeds? So prolonged exposure to UV rays increases your risk of developing malignant melanoma, which we talked about earlier with regards to the sun, which is the most serious form of skin cancer. You cannot always see the damage UV rays cause. Symptoms of skin damage can take up to 20 years to appear. And UV rays can also cause damage to your eyes, causing problems such as irritation, conjunctivitis or cataracts, particularly if you do not wear goggles. You'll often see, if you do ever happen to see somebody using a sunbed, they tend to have these little black goggles on. That protect their eyes from the rays that are happening. Sunbeds, what if I do decide to use them? So, the Health and Safety Executive recommend that you should not use UV tanning equipment if you have fair, sensitive skin that burns easily or tans slowly or poorly, have a history of sunburn, particularly in childhood, have a lot of freckles and red hairs, it means that your skin is likely to be fairer, have a lot of moles, okay, because they can be attacked, are taking medicines or using creams that make your skin sensitive to sunlight, have a medical condition made worse by sunlight, such as vitiligo, a long-term skin condition caused by a lack of a chemical called melanin in the skin, have already had skin cancer, or someone in your family has had it, or if you already have badly sun-damaged skin. All of these things are saying if you have any of these things, you absolutely should not be using them. And the HSE advice also includes important points to consider before deciding to use a sunbed. For example, if you decide to use a sunbed, the operator should advise you about your skin type and how long you should limit your session to. Similarly to when we talked about the tattoos and piercings, or if you are going to use this kind of facility, make sure you ask all about it, make sure it's safe, make sure it's clean, make sure it's hygienic, all those kinds of questions, okay? The last thing to know here is, what if I notice any changes in my skin after prolonged exposure to UV radiation? So whether you've perhaps spent a bit too much time in the sun, or if you've used sunbeds a lot, or on the whole, if you just notice any changes in your skin at all, anything that's not normal. All right, and this is where I'm going to go on to talk a bit more about melanoma, okay, which is that fourth type of skin cancer we were talking about earlier. Melanoma is caused by skin cells that begin to develop abnormally, okay? Exposure to ultraviolet UV light from the sun is thought to cause most melanomas, but there's evidence to suggest that some may result from sunbed exposure. The type of sun exposure that causes melanoma is sudden intense exposure, for example, while on holiday, which leads to sunburn. Melanoma skin cancer is the 5th most common cancer in the UK, and around 16,000 new cases of melanoma are diagnosed each year. More than 1 in 4 skin cancer cases are diagnosed in people under 50, which is unusually early compared with most other types of cancer, okay? It's like we talked about earlier, where if you had skin damage earlier on, it can come back later in life. And over recent years, skin cancer has become much more common in the UK. This is thought to be the result of increased exposure to intense sunlight while on holiday. But don't forget that depending on where you are on the planet, or right, where you are in regard to the equator, will reflect, you know, how hot it is, how much sun exposure there is, but also, you know, potentially how much more radiation is coming through, okay? So it's always best to be safe and prepared. What changes in skin should I look out for when it comes to things like melanoma, or just, you know, taking care of your skin in general? The most common sign of melanoma is the appearance of a new mole or a change in an existing mole. Okay, this can happen anywhere on the body, but the most commonly affected areas are the back in men and the legs in women. Okay, those were the most commonly found, but that's not to say they can't be found elsewhere. Melanomas are uncommon in areas that are protected from sun exposure. Okay, so any areas that you don't regularly exposed to the sun they're less likely to appear, okay? In most cases, melanomas have an irregular shape and are more than one colour, okay? And the mole may also be larger than normal, it can sometimes be itchy or bleed, okay? So essentially, it's like we've talked about with other things. If you notice anything out of the ordinary, anything that wasn't there before, anything that's changed, and the last point there is look out for a mole that gradually changes shape, size or colour. And if you find any of these, if you ever have any concern about anything to do with your body, I mean in this instance it's just skin, but in later lessons I'll talk about other things as well. If you ever notice anything irregular, then you need to go to your GP. You need to go and get it checked out, alright? Safe rather than sorry, just go and see what it's about, okay? Okay, that is the end of me talking for this lesson. What I'd like to go and do now is complete the quiz on Show My Homework that is currently set there. Okay, apologies for that. I'll carry on from this slide here. So, as I was saying, there is a quiz on Show My Homework that I would like you now to go and complete. It's a link that's attached onto this work. All right, so you need to click on that. You'll probably have to log in using your school email address and password, and then complete the really short quiz that's on there, okay? But that is what I would like you to go and do now. But once you've done that, that is the end of today's PSHE lesson. So obviously today we focused on keeping your skin safe, and our aims were to understand how to keep our skin safe when considering the acts of tattooing, piercings, and sunbeds, okay? And as I said right at the beginning, the aim of this lesson is not to say you must not do these things. The aim is to give you an awareness of the risks of each so that you can make a safe and informed decision about the things that will affect your skin. Go and do the quiz if you haven't done so already. If you already have, well done. I'll have a look at your answers. Otherwise, that's it from me for another 2 weeks. Take care, stay safe, and your next PSHE lesson will be up after 12:30. Bye.